right. So anyway, you got a race coming up.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do the Silver Rush 50 MTB race in
Yeah.
July,
Yeah.
but I don't know if I'm gonna do it because it's a Le Mans style start. You have to start with your bicycle laying down, and then you have to run up a hill with your bike. And I don't want to run. Like I just want to
You don't,
ride
you don't,
bicycle.
you're not a cyclocross guy, are you?
No, no,
Come
not at
on.
all.
I don't miss that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So you like running, so it'd probably be like a really good one for you, huh?
I'm not a runner.
Oh, really?
I
Like,
should I shouldn't say that. No,
yeah,
I don't know that like running is really a good way to describe it for me. I do it by necessity.
yeah, yeah. You just
I
get
used to
through.
like it.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I'm almost 50, so like
yeah,
it hurts.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting on up there too. Like I can't run at all. So like I'm pushing. Like I just turned 47 March the 14th. So uh, I've had Achilles tendon surgeries. I've snapped my
Hmm.
forearm in half, dislocated my elbow, dislocated my shoulders, broken humeruses.
It's that
Like,
motorcycle riding.
yeah, motocross is catching up to me. So I kind of had to take a step back and let the body heal. And that kind
Sure.
of got me back into cycling pretty hardcore and like trying to be competitive again. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's low impact. I'm going to stick with that. Stay away from running. I'll leave it up to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is Jen's second time on the show. Last time after the show, we kind of started talking about nutrition, and I was shocked with the amount of knowledge she had. So I asked her to come back on, and I just want to say thanks for.
My pleasure. That was fun. We got a lot of
Yeah.
views. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, we wound up getting 1,000. I was pretty shocked. That's one of my biggest videos. So I was
Yeah.
excited about that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. It
We'll
was
see if
good timing maybe.
yeah, yeah, we'll see if we can't beat it
Yeah, that'd be
with
cool.
this one. Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
get like maybe we get like 30,000.
Come on, people.
Yeah.
You wanna be in these race bodies. Fuel yourself like a race car. Here we go.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. So have you been riding outside any, or are you just still on the trainer? Are you hiding out?
I've still been on the trainer. I've been running outside, and I'm happy to say that this week there are far fewer people out there. I think the novelty's worn off, and that's good. That means it's safer for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, I noticed like when the coronavirus thing hit and then they did the shelter in place, I was going on bicycle rides and there would be people like on Walmart bikes with
I know.
running shorts on, like no shirt, just riding down the middle of the road.
I know, and no helmets,
Yeah.
like stupid stuff. Riding on
Yeah.
the sidewalk on the wrong side of the
Yeah.
street, just dumb stuff.
Yeah, and then 3 weeks after the shelter in place, like it just quit. Like everybody stopped riding and went back to their unhealthy ways, I guess.
Yeah, it's like gym
Yeah,
memberships in January.
yeah. They spike and then everyone's done. They're like, you know
Yeah.
what? I feel pretty good. Like I can get the rest of the year. You know, we're good.
Yeah. These walks, they were all right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh
yeah.
gosh.
I've been still doing some of the Zwift racing and kind of training a little bit more indoors last week because it seemed like it was kind of chilly. And then I got out last night for a ride, which was pretty cool. But I'm doing the zone 2 week, my rest week this week. And then I'll do like an FTP test and then start doing threshold work and then
Yeah.
like step into some anaerobic stuff, some more VO2 work.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably good timing if you're going to actually get to race in July. I think that's a smart approach for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm planning on it. I don't want to do that run. So what I might do is I might be like, hey, can I just start like farther back and then just get like a sprint, like sprint as hard as I can so I can like climb the hill.
Yeah.
And I think the reason they do Le Mans is because they start so close to the hill that they just pick up their bikes and then run. Like I
Yeah.
might see if I can just start like way back from the start and just get a charge and sprint up the hill, but I don't know if they'll
Yeah.
let me do that.
No idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah. So also
you,
last time we talked, you mentioned you had a weekly blog.
Yeah, I've been writing a blog. I just started it actually. It's funny because I'd been too busy coaching in a full-time job and
Uh-huh.
was working about 60 to 70 hours a week. And then with the COVID stuff, life kind of came to a screeching halt. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to do some writing. I'm going to do some speaking stuff, you know. So I started this blog last week and it's called Peak of the Week, and it's
Oh,
published on
nice.
Wednesday mornings on Hump Day, and you know, with a kind of a less academic approach to
Uh-huh.
um, like, you know, basic nutrition questions. Last week I just broke down the difference between the macros. This week I'm going to talk about metabolism.
I've always been interested in metabolism, and it's such a crazy thing because I have hypothyroid. Like our
Uh-huh.
whole family has hypothyroid. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, like when it comes to carbohydrates, it's like I have to eat like certain types. It seems like anything
Yeah.
like low on the glycemic index, like
Mm-hmm.
sweet potatoes. Like I do eat some rice and as much vegetables as I can get a hold of, but I definitely stay away from like starchy carbs and stuff like that. And then I used to do more like sugary yogurts and stuff like that to get my
Uh-huh.
carbohydrates, but I didn't realize, I thought I'm like, well, I'm eating yogurt, it's
Yeah.
healthy. And I didn't realize that I was getting like enough sugar to have drank a soda pop out of
Yeah.
the out of
Right.
the yogurt, and I could never figure it out. I could not gain weight. And I'm like, you know what, or lose weight. And I was
Sure.
like, you know what? I think I'll just eat these yogurts because some of my normal food like is, you
Uh-huh.
know, kind of making me hold weight,
Yeah.
and I gained even more weight. So then
Uh-huh.
I finally figured it out. I cut out the yogurts with the sugary fruit stuff
Mm-hmm.
in it, and then just started losing weight left and right. But
Oh
also kind
yeah.
of did keto and like low carb for a minute, and then I
Mm-hmm.
think it like did like some sort of like reset or something, and then I was able to keep the weight off, and then my blood sugar and like everything's just been super stable. And
Yeah.
I've always paid a lot of attention to blood sugar because I had 80% of my pancreas removed, and they
Oh,
thought I was going to be diabetic by the time, you know, I was in my mid 20s.
yeah, Chris. Wow, that's kind of serious. So,
That's really serious.
hmm, yeah,
So,
because you
so
can't live without a pancreas.
yeah, they removed like 80% of it. I guess I have around 20, and then uh but yeah, like all the sugary stuff that I was eating, like my body
Yeah,
just didn't jive with it. It couldn't handle it. So then
yeah.
of course, like everyone else, like throughout time I became insulin resistant.
Hmm.
What is the other one? Fructose sensitivities and all this stuff. And then
Uh-huh.
I went through a series of tests, and I found out that I was chromium deficient, like chromium picolinate, or
Okay,
so then I
sure.
started taking that, and then that kind of helped with the insulin
Hmm.
sensitivity and the fructose sensitivities and stuff like that. Then that even helped me get even leaner. So when I started doing chromium and things like that, that actually helped out a lot.
Yeah, you know, the thing about nutrition is I don't think it needs to be really tricky. I think uh, the fitness industry and like if you go to the magazine rack at the grocery store,
Yeah.
probably 75% of the magazines that are hanging up there have, you know, subject matter in them on dieting or trying to eat better or fitness. And like it's a multi-million dollar industry. If you go to the library and you try to look up something, and then you go down the rack to go find where your book is, oh my god, it's like books
Yeah.
everywhere, right? And
Yeah.
there have been so there's such a body of work in studying nutrition. I don't think it needs to be quite that difficult. And my hope is that I can help simplify it a little bit for
Hmm.
people, because none of us really need the same exact plan, but we can have a similar general plan that works
Yeah.
really well. Yeah. So, and I think, you know, part of my interest in nutrition came for me because, like you, I had some stuff that I didn't know that I was, you know, hurting myself with eating. I haven't had a weight issue, but I had thyroid cancer, so I
Oh
don't even
wow.
have a thyroid.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so you know, being an endurance athlete with no thyroid and being completely on Synthroid for the rest of my life, like one would expect me to be, overweight.
Overweight, yeah.
Yeah. And uh, what I learned is that I actually had celiac, and I have
Wow.
gluten sensitivity, and it probably is what led to the thyroid cancer because of the autoimmunity that I had growing up. I probably had it my whole life. I can
Yeah.
remember my mom feeding me Raisin Bran, and I would get so sick I'd have to run to the toilet before school, and then I missed a lot of school because everybody thought I had stomach flu. It wasn't that at all. It was celiac.
See, the thing with me is like I've noticed like I started eating more bread lately just because it's easy to
Mm-hmm.
get, and then like
Sure.
all the crap with the coronavirus and the grocery stores and stuff like that, I
Yeah.
just want to get like quick stuff. So I've been eating completely different, and I've had
Uh-huh.
some pretty serious GI issues like over the last 7 days. And then I
Sure.
had to like cut the bread back out and then go back to my sweet potatoes and like, things
Yeah.
that work for me. But yeah, like I kind of started thinking I had like some sort of gluten sensitivity, and I kind of thought it was kind of hogwash for a minute. But I've noticed when I eat more bread, I have like more digestive issues.
Yeah. And it could be yeast too. I mean,
Yeah.
usually when people have sensitivity to gluten, they typically are sensitive to yeast as well. And if you think about it, all those refined things that we eat in the American diet, um, the more refined we make food, the less nutritional value it has. And so, it just kind of runs through us, which isn't really awesome. So, high sugar, high starchy food, that's it, in combination with the fact that there are not the other nutrients that you need from those things, it's just going to make you sick.
Yeah, I definitely, and I kind of just started getting it right again. And then I ordered some probiotics and some digestive enzymes
Uh-huh.
to kind of help myself get back right again. And then the last time I did this, my stomach did this, I was eating more bread. And it's like, I'm
Hmm.
not anti bread, and I can eat bread like once a week or
Right.
something like that. But when I do it every day, I get digestive issues, and then I have to like go back and then do like, I call it my gut fix. Like I do
Hmm.
some probiotics and some digestive enzymes, and then I
Sure.
take the digestive enzymes before I eat, and then before I go to bed, like I take a probiotic.
Yeah. Yeah. A few years back, my cousin actually had like a real sour stomach to the point where they were giving her so much antacid, like proton blockers. Um, she was just popping pills all the time, and she was exponentially gaining weight. And I talked to her about it. I just said, you know what, go to Sprouts and get some digestive enzymes. Something's up with the pH balance in your stomach. You probably need more acid, not less. And so I had her, try that. And within a day, she was better, and she
See,
got off
that's
all of that
interesting.
stuff.
When you
Hmm.
say pH, or is that like the pH balance?
Hmm.
Like, what is that? Like, I don't know a whole lot about that. I've heard about it, and I know that you want to keep your pH balance in check, not necessarily high, not necessarily low. Like,
Yeah,
what is
yeah.
that?
Well, in chemistry world, we
Yeah.
measure chemicals based on how much hydrogen it has on it. The more hydrogen ions that it has on it, the more acidic it becomes.
Yeah.
And then, your pH balance in your body is somewhere between 7.2 and 7.4, which is a little bit on the alkaline side. Actually, 7 is considered completely neutral. So the pH of the stomach, which has hydrochloric acid in it, which is one of the strongest acids that we have, is actually down at 3. So, and it's not just like a stair step down; it's like exponentially. So, 3 being very, very acidic versus 7.2 being neutral. And if you don't have that acidity in your stomach, you can't digest things well. That helps break down all those food particles into smaller particles so they can be absorbed in the gut.
Yeah. So then I mean, I know this is a weird question, but what would cause acid reflux? Is that like, I mean, like, is that like the actual result in your pH balance being off, or is?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, people can cause acid reflux by undereating and their stomach's just hungry and producing enzymes to help incite hunger. But you also produce those enzymes to digest food. Um, Overeating can actually cause it. Stress can cause it. There's a whole host of things, but you can actually kind of cause this cyclical pattern when you take things like antacid.
Yeah, that's definitely insane because I kind of started thinking like maybe I caused my acid reflux because I wasn't eating enough
Mm-hmm.
because I was too lazy to go to the grocery store. Then one day I did like a super hard tempo ride. I burned 1,200 calories. It was late. I didn't have any food and I didn't eat anything. And I was already kind of empty before I started. And then
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it kind of started after that. And then I ate like a bunch of bread. And then I ate like it was like a lentil pasta, but I
Uh-huh.
ate like a bunch of ground beef with it. And then from that day, like for the next 3 or 4 days, I had like horrible like acid reflux. And then when I was training, like I kept burping that
Oh
the
yeah.
lentils and the ground beef up. Like it
I
was
bet you didn't eat that
horrible.
again.
I will never eat it again. I got like a whole cupboard full of that stuff that I'm just going to get rid of. I'm like,
You're
I
just
am
like,
not eating that again. No.
I, I know. It's crazy how those things that make us super sick like that, we never want to touch them again. But
Yeah.
yeah, it sounds like you kind of set yourself up for a perfect storm there.
Yeah.
And, you know, like sometimes we even think that we've got acid reflux and we've actually got like a peptic ulcer going on. But, you
Uh,
know, yeah, you know, I mean, it's pretty complicated, that GI system. We think about it in a simple way, just like we do everything else that we do
yeah.
internally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's definitely a lot better today and it was better yesterday. And I just, dude, like I can't handle, like I usually would train like early in the morning fasted and then I
Uh-huh.
eat. But since it's summertime, I'm shifting to riding outside just because I really need to be in the sun. Uh,
Yeah.
so I'm having to like get back in that habit of like eating a certain way so I can ride hard or do my
Yeah.
ride without, having GI issues in the afternoon.
Yeah. Timing your meals, timing them so that they're nutrient dense before you go out and ride, and then following your rides with the right kind of balance in such a way that you stay in that fat burning state, right? We want to
Yeah.
promote fat burning. Um, that's really, really critical to having quality workouts.
Yeah. So do you think there's any specific macros that endurance athletes should eat? Like, throughout the, like, say, like for me, like I'm riding in the afternoon, I'm going to go do 2 hours with, 75 minutes a sweet spot. I'm going to burn 1,500 calories. Like, what should I look for to fuel that workout? Should I eat light and then eat on the bike, like some sort of gels or something? Or,
Well, I'm not a fan of gels because they just top off your blood sugar, right?
yeah, it's
And
sugary. Yeah.
yeah, so there's something crazy that mechanically happens when our blood sugar is really high. We have to get rid of that in our bloodstream because it actually makes our bloodstream pretty acidic. And so
Okay.
the body responds by releasing insulin. And when the insulin is released, it's going to be grabbed up by all the cells that don't already have insulin on the cell wall,
Yeah.
that are available to take sugar in, right? So immediately all those cells are going to grab as much sugar out of the bloodstream as they can. But if you're still running high and you're still popping those gels, then what happens is body is furiously trying to convert sugar into fat to get rid of that or that lower pH, that imbalanced state that you're in. So what then it does is, because it's trying to get rid of sugar, is it actually turns off the mechanism to burn fat altogether.
Oh,
So you're not
wow.
even a fat burning state.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is super inefficient. If you're using glycolysis, which is the technical term for burning sugar for metabolism, you only have about a 1-to-2 energy ratio. So for every single unit of sugar, you're only making 2 ATPs.
Wow.
Okay, the difference between that and fat metabolism is fat metabolism we know makes, for every 1 sugar burned, because fat is converted to sugar
Yeah.
down at the cellular level, we get 36 to 46 potentially units of energy from. So it's 40 times the efficiency of burning sugar.
So ATP doesn't like sugar, so to say, or is it, do you recruit more ATP through fat burning, or?
You make ATP. You make
Okay.
ATP by burning sugar. You
Okay.
split the carbons on a sugar molecule, which is
Yeah.
6 carbons, and you manufacture ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. Okay. And you break those phosphate bonds off of that little chemical, and that's what creates energy. So with
Yeah.
one sugar molecule, 6 carbons, you're only making 2 ATPs. But when you do it from fat in the presence of oxygen, then you make potentially somewhere between 36 and 46 ATPs.
Yeah. Typically what I would do is I would ride fasted, especially if it's early in the morning. And then if I'm doing a 5:30 or a 6 o'clock or, a 5 p.m. ride, I try to go 3 hours out, and then I don't eat anything. And typically I can go at least 2 hours, like pretty hard without eating. So my goal usually is water and like no, like on the bike food, if I hit
Okay.
my nutrition right throughout the day. But of course, sometimes like you get swamped with meetings and then you can't hit it right.
Sure.
And then you're like, oh, I don't know, man, I might get a little hungry out there. So like I might eat like a waffle cone on the bike, just to get like a little pep so I don't blow my workout. Do you think, is that bad, or is that,
Well,
what do you think about that?
I think there's application to intermittent fasting, but it has to be in conjunction with the goal of the workout.
Yeah.
So if the workout is really trying to hit fat metabolism, which is not sweet spot, not threshold work, okay? It's in the presence of oxygen. You cannot burn fat without the presence of oxygen.
Yeah.
So that's key right there, making that connection. So we're talking lower part of zone 3, zone 1, zone 2, okay? Now, your body doesn't just burn only sugar and only burn fat. It burns a combination of both. But at fat metabolism, we're primarily burning fat. So you've got to be able to consume enough oxygen to do that chemical process. So intermittent fasting in that regard is beneficial because it kind of kickstarts you into fat burning, if you will. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I try to stay there, and I fast, up to 16 hours like every night. And I try to have my last meal at 5, like, especially if I'm fasting and if I'm riding fasted. So then, like I'll probably have my last meal be like 5 p.m. and then I'll wake up and then ride again. But now, since my rides are shifted to the, after work, I'm eating at like 8 o'clock at night, and then, waking up and, trying to fast until like 10, and then eating, and then trying to, keep in fat burning. But it kind of gets hard, especially like when you burn 1,500 calories and it's 8 o'clock at night. It's like, how much should I worry about replacing all of that, or just get like at a good spot with my hunger and then go to sleep?
Well, one of the things that I try to teach my athletes is how to kind of carbohydrate cycle.
Yeah.
So I will have my athletes set their day up so they have 6 meals, but they'll only have 3 meals that have carbohydrates in them.
Yeah.
Okay, so protein and fat are going to be in every meal, all 6. But in 3 of them, they're going to add carbohydrates, primarily veggies or fruit, and stay away from the simple sugars, right? Or more complex things like sweet potatoes or quinoa or long grain rice. So that, they fuel their day throughout the day. So they're eating these balanced meals because we need all of those nutrients too. Veggies give us the most minerals and vitamins in our diet, believe it or not, than any other food source.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
So we got to have that, and fiber too. But by eating your small meal, like your snacks, 3 times a day of protein and fat, that's when you're sort of intermittently fasting from carbohydrates. So you're kind of teaching your body how to go through the circadian rhythm of carbohydrate fasting, and then going back to fat metabolism, and then getting enough carbohydrates to balance the blood sugar, and then going back to fat metabolism. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, that I kind of did that for a while, especially when I say lost weight. I got up to like 140 pounds or something like that, which is big for me since I'm a little dude. Uh,
Uh-huh.
so then I kind of like did what you're saying, and then I would do some carbs at night. But
Yeah.
sometimes I felt like I couldn't sleep good because I thought like the carb cycling and bringing in carbs maybe cause like an insulin surge or something.
Sure. And it would. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
Is it because
So
it's probably because I got the wrong type of carbohydrate,
yeah,
perhaps?
that probably. But I think, if you start out your morning with that balance, including all three macros, your protein, your fats, and your carbs,
Mhm.
and then you finish your night with just protein and fat, I think you'll sleep better.
Yeah.
Because
Also too, like lately I've been doing like rolled oats, quinoa, and this
hmm
seed mix. It's kind of like an oatmeal. I've been doing
yeah,
that for breakfast and putting collagen protein in it and some blueberry powder and
that's
things like
great.
that. And then that holds me over for a long time. And then it probably gets me to about 12 or 1. And then about 12 or 1, I'll do like a heavier meal. Like today it was Berkshire pork with heirloom rice and sweet potatoes.
Uh-huh.
And then, I'll probably go ride late around 6 or something like that, and I won't have to eat. So that
Okay.
should be good. So when I get done with my workout, I'm probably going to be, 1,000 calories in the hole. Like, what would you recommend? Would you
I think
recommend like doing the carb cycling and like bringing carbs back in since I haven't had that many carbs throughout the day? Or do you think I've already had enough carbs?
I think the miss that I heard was not enough fat today.
Okay.
Okay. So, half an avocado, have it,
Yeah.
with, a good lean meat cut, or uh, you can add oil to your food if you want,
Olive
or
oil.
uh, olive oil is great. Grapeseed oil, flaxseed, those are all
Oh,
really good sources of fat. The one thing you want to be careful with
yeah.
olive oil is if you heat it up, it turns into a trans fat. So you want to eat
Yeah.
it at room temperature.
Yeah. A
That's key.
spoonful.
hmm
Yeah. Just
Yeah,
do a spoon.
yeah. But if you can add that protein and fat combination to your breakfast, I think you'll
Mhm.
feel like your day kind of goes smoother.
Yeah, I eat a lot of avocados, and generally I might do uh like a smoothie with a banana,
hmm
avocado, like kale and like whatever else I can put in there. And that does pretty good. So I would generally eat 1 to 2 avocados a day, but since I haven't been doing the smoothie and I've been doing the that hot breakfast it's like rolled oats,
Yeah.
flax,
Well,
quinoa.
add like a tablespoon of coconut oil to that rolled
Oh,
oats and stuff.
oh
Okay,
yeah.
that would be a great source of fat. That would be kind of breakfasty.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I used to do more coconut oil or MCT oil, and I kind of got out of
hmm
it. But yeah, that's actually a perfect idea. And then,
Yeah.
eat whatever I got to eat for lunch to fuel my workout. That a lot of times, like lunch will be my last meal before I go ride. And since I'm
Sure.
riding easier, I probably won't burn but like 800 calories tonight, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. So
Um,
just come back and have protein and fat. That's when your yogurt is a good thing. You just want to get low sugar.
yeah,
Get like plain yogurt with lots of fat content in it, or even cottage cheese is great if you can. Some people don't
stomach
like
it.
cottage cheese.
Yeah,
Yeah, some
yeah.
people don't like it, but and then add like a handful of fruit to it, berries, because you want those antioxidants and you want the fiber. That's a little bit of sugar. It's not a lot, but it makes
Yeah.
it tolerable. The other thing I have people do is, believe it or not, add a little tablespoon of like chocolate, high quality
Oh,
chocolate to it, and make
I
it like a
left out
dessert.
I left
See?
out my cacao nibs, my
Uh-huh.
cacao nib obsession. Like I
There
take
you
like a big handful and put that in my oatmeal too.
Dark chocolate has like
Yeah.
tons of great nutritional value, and
Uh-huh.
it's a great source of magnesium. It's not the
Potassium.
enemy. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So those electrolytes that you need too, and then it makes that plain yogurt taste better.
Yeah, I do like an organic, all natural cacao nib. It's like
Uh-huh.
these little it's like little pop rocks kind of. and then I just take spoonfuls and put it in my yogurt or even put it in my smoothies.
Sure.
It
Yeah.
actually is like really, really good. And whatever the mixture I have set up right now does really well for like, keeping me level, like my blood sugar is good. And then I can
Yeah.
go in, eat my lunch, and then, probably 5:30 still be good to ride. I know we talked about carb cycling.
Uh-huh.
So carb cycling, that's introducing carbs back in later in the day,
Well,
perhaps.
yeah, or intermittently through the day. Like I
Yeah.
try to have my folks eat about every 3 hours, but
Okay.
every other time they're going to skip the carbs. Does that make sense?
Ah, yeah, yeah. So you don't
Yeah.
get too much. And then a lot of people
Hmm.
can't really handle carbs. Like
Right. Right.
they can't stay lean. And then some people are like all carbs and sugar, and
Well,
they
remember,
supposed to go
carbs are
lean.
not just breads and potatoes and rice. Carbs are also veggies.
That's true. But
So
it
you
takes
got
a
to keep,
whole lot.
right. Because like a quarter cup of broccoli is only about 18 calories. That isn't going to get you very far on your bicycle.
Yeah. I remember I read a book. It was the paleo diet for athletes or endurance
Uh-huh.
athletes. Did you ever
Uh-huh.
read that one?
No, I haven't, but I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was that wrote it, but so yeah, carb cycling. I think I've kind of done that a little bit, and I think that does work pretty good as long as I watch out what type of carbs I
Yeah.
eat. Like as long as I
Right.
keep it to like veggies or something like,
Hmm.
high like on the nutrient
Yeah.
dense density, I think it's fine, and then I can sleep good. So
Yeah.
is carb loading still a thing? Like I remember this like
Oh, yeah, for sure.
way, 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 way back. I'm talking like early 90s, and there was a book by Michael Colgan.
Uh-huh.
Did you ever read Optimum Sports Nutrition?
I know about it. Yeah. I'm going to tell
Yeah.
you that the way we did that in the 80s and 90s was all wrong.
Dude, it jacked me up. Like
Oh,
I
me
was
too.
hypoglycemic. Like I'd
Hmm.
get sick and have GI issues for most of
Oh,
my
yeah.
races, and it made my legs just feel all puffy. Like at the start of my
Uh-huh.
mountain bike races, like I just felt like I couldn't push through like the lactic acid, and
Oh,
it was
yeah.
a severe like handicapper for me. Like
Yeah.
it ruined me.
Yeah, we always did a pizza party for high school track and
Yeah.
cross country right before the state meet, and I'll never forget my junior year in particular. Um, I felt horrible, horrible, and it was
Yeah.
probably my poorest race of the year. It was supposed to be the race I should have performed the best, right? But that's just it. Like, yeah, carbohydrate. Uh, Absolutely. We still want them, but we've
Mhm.
timed them wrong by doing it that way. So what you eat the night before isn't even going to be fully digested in your system for another day and a half to 2 days. They
Wow.
say somewhere between
Yeah.
36 and 48 hours before the thing that just went in your mouth actually becomes incorporated in as part of your body.
I had
So
no idea.
yeah, so carbohydrate cycling in the endurance world now, the way I use it and what I think is useful is as we're tapering down and we're getting into those glycogen depletion workouts that you do, that's when you want to carb load
Yeah.
right afterwards. Okay, so
So
that
it's
you
timing.
top it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're topping off your reserves to be able to do those glycogen depletion workouts.
Mhm.
But then about 2 to 3 days before the race, you back way off on the carbs. You need some because you need to be
Yeah.
able to, regulate your GI in a
Uh-huh.
normal way. And if you just eat meat and fat, then you're going to get stopped up. But
Yeah.
you want to reduce the amount about 48 hours before your race so that you kind of start to get into that intermittent fat burning state already.
Yeah. Well, so I know a lot of people think they're like, oh, I'm low carb, and they take low carb as being like all meat, and they do
Yeah.
things like the carnivore diet and stuff like that. And then doesn't like your body, wouldn't it like use meat? Like if it needs more glycogen, wouldn't it try to convert that to glycogen so your body could operate?
Yeah, it can,
So
but
you
it's
can get
really
like
not good for you.
yeah, and then can't you get like some sort of insulin surges from just eating a lot of meat?
Well,
Or is
if
that
you
like a weird question? Yeah.
no, it's a good question.
Yeah.
The problem with metabolizing protein and converting it to sugar is what makes a protein different than a carbohydrate is the chemical group that's on it called a ketone.
Yeah.
And so when you go to convert that, you have to do that in your liver, and your liver rips off that ketone as waste. Okay. And then it dumps the blood sugar into the bloodstream. But ketones are really toxic. That's not so good for us.
Yeah.
So it our liver does all of the filtering: alcohol, ketones, waste, hormones, everything that we put in our mouth that's junk. The
Yeah.
liver's job is to get rid of that. Why would we want to eat in such a way that would create more work? You know what I'm saying?
So then you would be kind of anti keto.
I'm not anti-keto. I'm just anti using protein for a fuel source.
Well, see, my
Protein
little
should,
brother, he thinks it's kind of bad for you. And I'm sure there's some applications that ketosis would be good for, but for your typical person, maybe use it for a little bit if you can lose weight, and that, using ketosis.
uh-huh. I think
But
ketosis works really well for diabetics and
yeah,
people that have issues with high blood sugar. That's
yeah,
where its application is good. Where
uh,
it's not so good is I totally agree with your brother. Actually, I think
yeah,
it's really dangerous, frankly.
that's what
And
he
but
thinks. Yeah, my little
yeah,
brother. Yeah,
yeah. So I mean, really, the way ketosis works is you still fat metabolize. You really shouldn't be trying to make sugar from protein.
yeah,
And honestly, it's a little hard to eat enough protein to have enough calories in your daily diet to support your blood sugar.
yeah,
So the problem with that then becomes you got to get it from somewhere else. So where do you go? You go to your stores. That's why people lose weight on it really efficiently. They're going to go to their fat stores. It is useful for losing weight, but you also lose muscle because muscle wants to burn fat for fuel. It doesn't want to burn sugar. And so we've got to economize our body. And if it means being able to establish a blood sugar that's more stable, that means that sometimes we lose muscle to do
yeah.
that. And as a performance athlete, you don't want to lose your muscle tone.
No, and then the more muscle you have, the more glycogen stores you have. Is that
Well, not
true or not
really.
really?
No,
But
no, 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 no.
you can deplete your muscle glycogen, but say if you're
Mm-hmm.
properly topped off and you have your, proper stores of muscle glycogen, that means that your body's going to store more water as well, right?
Yes,
So,
yes.
so then losing muscle could potentially mean less muscle glycogen and have less of ability to stay hydrated,
Correct. Yeah.
which people
It's
don't ever
kind of a
think about it like
double-edged,
that.
it's a
Yeah.
double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
Not only do you have the stronger muscle cells to produce work,
Uh-huh.
but you don't have water and you don't have glycogen.
Yeah. So then I've kind of like go back to sweet spot. They say that sweet spot actually helps your body produce like more, or actually helps your body store more muscle glycogen. Have you ever heard of that? Like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah, and I think there's probably some truth to that. It's just
yeah.
that you can't, it's not like building barns all over the place. You can't
Yeah.
store massive amounts of glycogen. There is a limiting factor there. Your major source of storage is your fat stores.
Yeah.
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 But you
So,
also you don't want to be overweight. But somebody like me, I'm super lean. I'm about
mhm.
11% body fat.
Yeah, that's
But
good.
I still have enough fat storage to sustain me for 12, 13, 14 hours. I
Yeah.
just have to eat enough carbohydrates throughout that day to keep my blood sugar stable.
I guarantee it. Like, I don't put in more than 200 calories of carbs a day. I probably stay around 150
So
and
you
I'm
might be a
pretty
little
lean.
light.
Yeah, I could be. But I run pretty lean and I never I never bonk out. Like I never get weak on rides. You know, I've been out and, you know, oh, you know, I'm not producing the amount of power I need, and then eat like a waffle cone and then pick back up, because if I burn like 1,500 calories or 15 to 1,800 calories without eating,
Yeah.
I drop off pretty quick. And then if I eat, you know, 45 minutes later to an hour, I start to come back out. But I feel like even though with the amount of carbs I take in, I'm able to like run pretty
Pretty
good.
consistently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, you know, the place that you might experiment increasing would be just the veggies. It sounds like you get enough starch. It sounds like you get enough of the basic sugars to be able to maintain that energy
Yeah.
level. But, you
Yes.
know, your veggies are big with those minerals and vitamins that you need. They really, the more variety you can have there, the less supplementation you have to do.
Yeah. And then also too, it's like, I kind of always like think about glycemic variability.
Uh-huh.
What does that even mean? Like, what would that mean to someone? Like, everyone's like, yes, you know, look out for foods low on the glycemic chart. And I'm like, what chart? What are you
Right.
talking about? Like, what? I mean, what would you kind of lead your athletes towards, like, as far as like carbohydrates and foods low on the glycemic
The
variability?
more
Yeah.
what we used to refer to it as complex carbohydrates versus
Okay.
simple, right? It's just
Yeah.
a new term. And it's basically complex carbohydrates are a bunch of sugars that are attached together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the body has to break them down. And every time it breaks one sugar, like an oligosaccharide is a lot of sugars. We'll just call it that. You break it down into eventually a monosaccharide, which is
Mm-hmm.
just glucose. Okay. Every
Yeah.
time you break one off, you're creating energy. Okay. So that's why complex carbohydrates have more energy value, but they have a lower glycemic index because they don't turn into blood sugar like a match.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you take those gels in, that's straight up glucose, right? So that's going to really push that glycemic index super high. So the more simple the starch is, the higher it is on the glycemic chart.
So when you start popping goos, and this might
Uh-huh.
be a little deep, but you start popping goos, you
Mm-hmm.
you get glycogen into your system. Does that automatically trigger insulin, or does your body
Yes.
just go, okay, we're gonna let you burn it since you're, you know, doing a workout? But does that
It,
also like trigger insulin to come into your blood? Does it come into your bloodstream and get rid of glycogen, or like?
well, yes and no. The answer is yes, but everybody produces their own amount of insulin. Some people are um, more or less able to produce insulin.
Yeah.
Some people's cells actually have resistance to insulin. That's where we're getting into like metabolic disease and diabetes. But we're all on this spectrum somewhere, right? And you can absorb sugar from the moment it goes into your mouth. It does go down sublingually too,
Yeah.
but really it's got to work its way through the stomach in a large part and then down into the GI. And the problem with digestion is we can only digest a maximum of 0.5 grams per kilo per
Mhm.
minute.
Yeah.
So if you took a gel, how many grams of sugar is that? I don't know, 30?
A lot. Yeah.
Think about that for a moment.
It's like drinking a soda pop.
Yeah, but it's going to stay there for like 2 hours
Yeah.
because you can't digest it fast enough. So, uh, when you're talking about fueling your body during exercise, you want to be thinking about that absorption rate so that you're not filling up your stomach with stuff that's just going to sit there like a lead balloon.
I have noticed, like, if I'm in the middle of a hard effort, say like if I'm climbing the ward or whatever, and me and my buddies are like getting after it,
Uh-huh.
and I'm like, well, I might want to go ahead and eat, so later on, you know, I don't like bonk out or whatever. And then I eat a waffle cone like when I'm in that effort, and it's like I
Uh-huh.
feels like my legs get slow. It's
Uh-huh.
like I don't know like what that is. It's like actually I wind up getting dropped because I ate.
Yeah, because you actually turned off the mechanism to burn fat because now your body's got to manage that crazy
So
ass
then
blood sugar.
Yeah, so then it just switched from fat burning because I'm just riding probably tempo to sweet spot, which I
Right.
really didn't even need the sugar. And then I kind of started like catching on to that. I'm like, I wasn't sure. And you just kind of like confirmed like what I was thinking. I'm like, oh, it's trying to like kick me from fat burn to sugar burn.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. You are efficient by what you eat. So
Yeah.
if you can, if you can get efficient enough to be able to handle the higher tempo races, but still stay at a fat burning state, that's where you're going to be the strongest. But you have to
Yeah.
kind of fuel your workouts in such a way to help your body learn how to do that.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I'm like lately since I've done so much. I know we always talk about tempo and sweet spot, but I've done so much tempo and sweet spot. I feel like I'm burning fat like all the way up to about you know mid mid sweet spot for me. So my threshold is 173. I think I'm burning fat up into the 160s, like
Sure.
165,
Yeah, you
because I don't
can.
have to eat
You do teach
generally.
you can teach your body to do that. I knew somebody that spent a whole winter just on the trainer, like hours and hours and hours, watching
Yeah,
his heart rate and teaching his body how to metabolize fat. And it was insane. Like the guy burned like 100% fat in zones 1 and 2. And then he was burning like 93% in zone 3. And then
yeah,
at threshold, he was actually burning, it was insane. It was like over 40%, which is, you don't see that. Most
yeah,
people burn like less than 10% fat at threshold. But, he spent months and months and months doing low intensity. And then he was just constantly popping food that was high fat,
yeah.
not sugar.
So then was his zone two, like, was it really broad? Did it go like way up the
Oh, yeah.
spectrum? And then when you say zone three, like his zone two is probably so broad that by the time he gets into zone three, like I'd probably be in like burning, you know, sugar like long before that.
Yeah. I mean, he was an older athlete, but
Uh,
I kind of remember that his zone 1 and zone 2 was like, um, gosh, I think he started burning fat at like 80 beats per minute and I'll clear up to 150.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of think like for my heart rate, I have it set based on my threshold. So Training Peaks has my zone two going all the way up to like 151.
Uh-huh.
So I kind of feel like I'm pretty good up to there. And I think I'm like past there just because I've worked at it so much. But I mean, we could probably go do a test and they'd be like, "Oh, you're a sugar burner." But I don't think that I am.
Well, I mean, yeah, you can go pay for an active metabolic test. But I think you can figure it out too with a ramp test, the last 2 to 3 minutes, like we talked about last time.
Yeah.
Watching where your heart rate really goes will determine where your threshold is.
And when I first started getting back into training this time around, like I was seeing higher heart rates, and then now like I'm seeing like lower heart rates, but I'm
Hmm.
pushing out more power.
Yeah, and that's a positive adaptation. That's
Yeah,
good. That's what you want to see.
yeah, and I thought that was interesting because I've been doing my zone two rides in tempo power, but my heart rate's where I think zone two would be. So then I'll
Uh-huh.
test again, and then hopefully bump my zones like way up.
Yeah,
I'm hoping like after Tuesday, my threshold will be like 235. That's what I think it is.
really.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I
That's
think
great.
it'll be. But do you think if I got on a plant-based diet like this
Oh,
Netflix movie,
uh,
The Game Changer, do you think that would boost me up to like a 300 FTP just by going vegan?
oh. Well, I'm not a fan of that movie because I feel like it was really strongly supporting
Yeah.
those that are funding that movie, if that makes
Yeah.
any sense. They didn't present much of an argument on the other side. So I already kind of touched on it. I think being a vegan, it's really difficult to get enough protein in your diet. It can be done. I have an athlete on my team that is vegan, and she and I have we agree to disagree. on some
Yeah.
things, but it's pretty difficult to get enough protein in your diet that doesn't also have really high carbs. That's the catch. See, nothing that you consume on a plant-based diet is just strictly protein. It's got a lot of carbohydrates in it too. So, you might consume, like for me, my baseline is about 1,600 calories just to kind of get through the day. If I consumed enough protein and if I consumed 30% of my diet in protein, my carbs would be so high. The calories would be like 2,200. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And it kind of seems like to me, like, and I wouldn't dare say that all vegans would be sugar burners, but
Uh-huh.
it seems like a lot of them have a sweet tooth to me. And
Yeah.
then they're like, oh, I'm vegan, I'm super healthy, but then they eat like all this other like vegan junk food that they think is like good because it says vegan on it, but it's got like 1,000,000 grams of sugar, and then they eat pixie sticks and Skittles and like all this stuff. They're like, oh, it's vegan, and pop some Skittles and then go on their bike ride. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't know the answer to that, honestly. The athlete that I coach, I think, does a pretty good job with her diet and variety, whatnot. But I can tell you for a fact, because we tracked her food for a while, it
yeah,
was really difficult for her to get even 20% of her diet in the protein category. And I like to see my folks somewhere around 30 to 40%, because
yeah,
that's what supports your skeletal muscle. That's what's going to give you the strength to get faster. So
yeah.
I'm not bought in at all on that plant-based movie.
Yeah, I watched it and it kind of irritated me because I mean, I know everyone has their right to think what they want. You
Sure.
can eat how you want, and that's all good. I would never make a vegan eat sausage, you
Right.
know, and I wouldn't
Yeah.
make fun of them for being vegan, and I wouldn't try to like convince them that it's unhealthy either. Or,
Uh-huh.
like I think there's probably some good and some bad with both diets.
Sure.
And I think just because you're vegan and you go eat a vegan sausage patty, it doesn't mean that was healthy. It could be
Yeah.
some processed junk that someone milled together and sold it as vegan.
Well, that's absolutely the truth. A lot of that stuff is super processed, and we kind of talked about that. Every time
Yeah.
you process something, you lose some nutritional value to it. And soy is kind of a danger because it mimics estrogen,
Yep.
and our body kind of doesn't know how to get rid of estrogen or any of those steroid hormones that we get. I mean, milk is just as dangerous. They pump the dairy cows with estrogen so that they produce more milk. And then
Yeah.
if we don't get organic milk, it's in our milk products or our cheese. So, we're still in that, whether you're vegan or not vegan, you can potentially have too much estrogen in your diet. But soy is one of those things that actually mimics it. And the trouble with estrogen is too much of it really sets awry um, our metabolism, actually, in an underhanded sort of way. But for men, it affects the ability to make a
Oh yeah.
precursor
Yep.
to
Yep.
testosterone. Okay. And then you store fat in some places that you don't want to store fat,
Yep.
the moob thing, or, back fat. And
Yep.
then it's down in the thighs. Those are places we really don't want to be storing fat. But estrogen is kind of the trigger for that.
Yeah, and it
So
causes all kinds of problems with men too, anywhere from like prostate cancer, like
yeah,
excessive amounts of estrogen.
well, breast cancer in women for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
And then also too, if your hormones are out of whack and your metabolism's out of whack, also your circadian rhythm could be out of whack too.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
if all that's out of whack, then your sleep is going to be off, and if you're not sleeping good, it just snowballs.
That's right. And your recovery gets off. It's just a whole host of issues
Mhm.
that one little hormone can cause.
Yeah, and I know like lately I've been staying up a little bit later because I've been riding at night,
Uh-huh.
and then eating later at night. And then I do have blue blockers to kind of like block
Do
the
you?
blue lights, yeah, to help my body produce melatonin. And then they
Uh-huh.
say like, once you're you get out of like circadian rhythm, it screws everything up. And then you start burning like more sugar
Mhm.
and your body stops working proper. And then, yeah, you just start making poor choices. And then you just kind of snowball like out of
Yeah,
whack.
it's like a waterfall, you just go over the cliff and everything goes with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming up on 1 hour.
Yeah. You want to wrap it up?
Yeah, I
Save
think,
some questions for another time?
yeah, let's do another one.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, I enjoyed it, and I appreciate you coming back on again. And actually, I really
Sure.
enjoyed this one. This one's fun because nutrition is like, I mean, I'm so interested in it primarily because of, the issues I had as a kid,
Yeah.
and I've seen how much, proper nutrition can change, my mental outlook,
Hmm.
my weight, my physique, my ability to think at work, my ability to stay calm, like all through nutrition. And I was straight up told by the time I was in my mid 20s, I would
Yeah.
be diabetic. But, 20 some odd years of, nerding out on nutrition and,
Uh-huh.
trying to figure some of this stuff out, you know, has like perhaps saved my life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm telling you, nutrition is about 80% of our success
Oh,
in
yeah.
terms of just living healthy life, but also being an athlete. You
Oh, yeah.
can't perform well if you don't eat right. So it's really, really an important subject, and it can feel daunting for people because it's an enormous body of um, information out there, and it's hard for people to kind of figure out what's right. But I don't think it needs to be quite so difficult.
I try to keep it simple. I try to eat, you know, get in a lot of different types of foods, but like
Yeah.
also try to, pay attention to how I feel. Did I
Uh-huh.
eat something and did I kind of, I don't know, did my nose get stopped up when I ate something or how did my stomach feel? So then if I notice any kind of weirdness,
Yeah.
I kind of just get rid of those foods. And then sometimes I'll bring them back in and see what happens. But I've had like 20 some odd years of nerding out, with what works for me. And
Yeah.
so I've taken the time to figure out what works for me, how to be lean, how to be healthy, how to train every day. But a lot of people just don't have the time, or maybe they don't have the mental willpower to want to spend that kind of time to find, optimum health.
Yeah. Well, and
It's
that's another discussion because sugar is a really powerful thing that affects that dopamine response in the brain, and it's hard for people to overcome that. It's pretty big addiction,
it's
um,
a huge addiction. Like
and
if I eat, yeah,
I think sometimes people too are not as in tune as you have become. Like they don't understand why yesterday, whatever they ate made them feel crummy today. They haven't made that connection,
yeah,
if you will.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
like, oh, I didn't sleep good last night. You know I just don't feel good today. But they didn't make the connection that it probably was something that they actually put in their mouth.
For me, like I found out, like it's 99.9% of the time nutrition, and it's either I've tried to be too lean, I tried to run too lean,
Uh-huh.
or I ate too much, or ate certain foods that I know that don't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then I have to strive for this middle ground, so I
Yep.
can consistently have energy, consistently train, consistently recover, and do work too. So
Right. And you got to think about those things. I think that's a really key component to getting good at this is, I know if I'm less than 11%, I don't produce good results with my training. But if I'm
yeah,
over 12 and a half, I feel crummy
sluggish.
too. Yeah, I
Yeah,
feel heavy and sluggish, which that's not heavy for a woman, but you know what I'm
no,
trying to say. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not my optimal place. And so figuring out how to kind of stay in that optimal place for us as high performance athletes gets a little bit easier. I think what's hard is for the beginners that are like, oh my gosh, I have no idea where I'm supposed to
yeah.
be. But, there's so much money to be made on people like that. You and I would just read everything that we can.
Yeah.
And, nerding out is such a good thing. I wish everybody would do it.
Yeah. I've been doing it for so long. And then My oldest brother, I told you he's a triathlete as well. Uh, he's kind of like figuring it out. And I think he's kind of like getting it down to where he's got the optimal body fat for him, the
Uh-huh.
optimal weight. And then he's kind of like played around with a little bit more. And then like he had a really good season, like a year or two ago and had some really good races. Then he just kind of fell off because he was trying to run too lean for too long and pushing too hard and maybe wasn't recovering proper. So
Yeah.
then we mentioned unloading. His coach is unloading him and kind of, I guess, like giving him a chance to like rest and all that stuff. But he's finding out, more about himself, like what he should eat, how he should eat, what body weight, led him to,
Uh-huh.
his demise, so to say.
Right.
But athletes take time to figure that out because we put so much effort into training and trying to
Mm-hmm.
perform and be well that like if you don't take that on yourself, like, and no one can tell you what's right, really. I mean, no one can.
No, you have to kind
Yeah,
of experiment because you're right. I'm not the same being as you are.
yeah,
We might have some similarities with the celiac and the hypothyroidism, but really at the end of the day, you're as unique. Your metabolism is just like a thumbprint, you
yeah,
know, or the iris of your eye. It's unique to you.
yeah,
So you have to figure it out. Yeah.
yeah. And I think like maybe it's not that important and people don't feel like I don't feel that bad, or they don't realize that they feel bad. I think the thing is like
Right.
growing up an athlete and pushing myself, like now I'm just stuck being an athlete because I know how good I
Yeah.
feel from like
Uh-huh.
pushing myself and training and having my
Yeah.
diet on point. Like now
Yeah.
it's just what I have to do. And if my life doesn't jive with that, I have to fix other things so I can continue doing what I need to do, like to be healthy and be me.
Yeah. Yeah. Your priorities are set up so that this is a number one or high on, at
Exactly.
least on that spectrum. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. My health and like if I'm working and it stresses me out too much and like keeps me up late at night, I'm like, I'm finding another job. I'm quitting.
Yeah, right. All right.
Well,
Well,
cool. I
it was a
enjoyed it.
pleasure.
And
Yeah,
uh
fun.
so then your blog, is it a website? Is it a WordPress? Is it like
It's,
a www dot? I'll put a link in the description as well.
you know what? I'll send it to you. But
Yeah.
it's called Peak of the Week.
Okay.
Okay. And it's connected to my Finding Fast page also.
Nice.
Okay. All right.
Nice. Nice. I appreciate it. And then look forward to talking to you again.
Yeah. See you, Chris. Have a good
All
afternoon.
right.
Hey, have a good ride.